Welcome back to another edition of Peralta Matters. I'm your host, Jay Calhoun. Today's episode is about the academic services surrounding our colleges, and our first guest is Vice Chancellor of Educational Services, Debbie Budd. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thanks so much for having me, Jay.
Our pleasure. Let's first talk about what it is you do and how you do it.
Okay. Well, I'm the Vice Chancellor of Educational Services for the Peralta District.
Yes.
And as that, I work with all of the colleges within our district, College of Alameda, Berkeley City College, Laney, and Merritt College, to ensure the courses we offer are transferable to the CSUs and the UCs, that they have articulation agreements, as well as work with the faculty, administration, and staff to ensure student success. It's, you know, we look at our student learning outcomes, we look at assessment, and we constantly look to see how we're serving our students and what we can do better.
Give me perhaps your top 5, or better yet, the most significant academic programs that affect our schools.
Okay.
What would you think they'd be? Well,
many people are realizing now with the Obama administration the huge role that community colleges play.
Excellent.
And we serve the urban population, and they're rapidly becoming known as America's institutions. We are a great source for higher education, and we have a huge array of programs. I'll highlight a couple at our different colleges.
Please.
You know, College of Alameda offers logistics, transportation, aviation maintenance, dental assisting, and we've received quite a few grants within the district, of which a large one for our Atlas logistics program at College of Alameda. Berkeley City College is becoming renowned statewide and probably nationwide soon with our multimedia programs.
Excellent.
Have people that have been actually recommended for many awards, as well as a biotechnology grant. And some of our faculty have worked closely with Children's Hospital and National Science Foundation to develop grants. Laney College, I know you do some sports announcing, has an incredible athletics program. And every year they transfer athletes to four-year institutions, including UC Berkeley, UCLA, and really create a wonderful opportunity for our students. In addition, they have some excellent trade programs in carpentry and fina, welding, industrial technology, just to name a few. And then Merritt College is wonderful with the nursing and health science programs, and they've also done quite a bit with grants for the with the Department of Labor and the Maximum Achievement Project. I've kind of highlighted a couple of things for the CTE, the Career Tech Ed programs, but we do a wonderful job with transfer. You know, there's really 3 main focus of the community college in the last few years from our new Chancellor, Jack Scott, up at the, not Dr. Wise Allen, but the Chancellor at the, for the 112 community colleges. And many people may not know that we have an incredible transfer rate to UC Berkeley. Out of the 112 community colleges, Berkeley City College and Laney College are number 5 and 7 respectively in the number of students that they transfer to UC Berkeley. So we have a lot to be proud of that I'm not so sure a lot of the community knows, but I wanted to make sure to share that. As far as some of the top things we do, you know, because we are many times the first place that students are coming from high school, or many times students that haven't received a high school diploma, they can come here after the age of 18. They're often the very first person in their family to go to college. And really a lot of what we do, I think, is help instill hope and create the caring environment for the students to be successful. And you know, when you look at the state statistics, out of we're really not doing a great job nationwide in students completing a bachelor's degree. And it really is about equity and helping to create programs that everyone could succeed. You know, in Peralta, we serve a really diverse population. And when you account for all the students with, you know, unknown, the check unknown in the box, really we have about 30% of the students are African American in the Peralta district, almost 30% are Asian, about 20% are Caucasian, another almost approaching 20% Latino. And I say approaching because we have, you know, about a 5% of Filipino, Native American, and Pacific Islander combined. So we serve the population that hasn't always gone to college in the past. And when you look at that, the state statistics of the 2000 census, out of 100 kindergartners, if you had 100 Asians nationwide, 49 Asians would receive a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
30 Caucasians out of 100 would get a bachelor's, 16 African Americans, and only 6 Latinos. So what we need to do in the community colleges, and we do very well with our academic senate, with our faculty, with our staff, is look at programs for success. Whether learning communities like Puente, looking at our PACE programs, finding ways to help the students be successful. So I have to say, I see that as a huge role of mine as the Vice Chancellor, is to help innovate faculty, to help have funding available, to go out for grants, and then to ensure that we plan for programs so that it's within our priorities.
That's excellent. Those numbers are startling. Let's talk a little bit about the, you know, a lot of our public or a lot of our audience may not know the ins and outs of the strategic planning, but the educational master plan that was set by the state and followed by a lot of colleges, as well as some of the things that you just touched on, how is Peralta preparing our students through this strategic master educational plan?
Okay. Well, many years ago, when the state developed the educational master plan for higher ed, you know, they had the UCs, the CSUs for the state schools, and then community colleges. Many more students are realizing that their first choice is community college because of the cost of CSUs and UCs. Many are choosing to come to community college for those first 2 years to transfer. So that's definitely within our strategic planning, you know, access, success, and equity, and as well as our annual institutional goals and objectives. So we work with the, at the district level, we work with the presidents as they develop their annual plans for the campuses. You know, ensuring student success, looking at programs of distinction, looking at how we can outreach for programs with the community, for grants, while remaining fiscally sound. So if you had to ask the #1 priority, one of our biggest challenges right now is you know, fiscal stability with what's happening at the state level. Many people may not know that 2 years ago the state imposed a workload reduction, and with that they reduced our apportionment by 1,000 FTEs, full-time equivalent students, which ends up being almost $5 million that they didn't fund us. But we served more students. So last year we actually had about $12 million worth of unfunded FTEs. We served the students, they came to us, faculty took them in to help them be successful. Then our challenge becomes, how do we help them with their student services? So we work closely with the vice presidents of both student services and instruction to develop programs, looking at the student area outcomes, student learning outcomes. And we have some counseling faculty that have really moved forward and developed some online counseling, some group counseling for student success. So really looking at how we can serve our students with these, you know, really reduced funds that we have from the state.
Excellent job. I want to thank Debbie Budd, the Vice Chancellor of Educational Services for the district, again for coming on our show. We'll be right back after this with Peralta Matters.
So tonight I ask every American to commit to at least 1 year or more of higher education or career training. This can be a community college or a 4-year school, vocational training or an apprenticeship. But whatever the training may be, every American will need to get more than a high school diploma.
Peralta TV, programs that matter.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. I'm your host, Jay Calhoun. We are continuing our conversation on academic services and how they relate to the Peralta community colleges. Our next guest is Karolyn van Putten, who is the president of District Academic Services, Senate, the vice president of Laney Faculty Senate, and the Student Learning Outcome and Assessment Coordinator. Thank you for coming on the show, Karolyn.
My pleasure.
First, let's discuss, amongst the myriad of titles you have, what it is exactly you do for the colleges and for the district.
The most generic way to describe what I do is that I serve as a faculty advocate and representative with respect to the shared governance processes and to college educational delivery.
Excellent. And some of the discussion we had off camera in regards to the actual faculty and academic senate, give us a little bit of a brief background as to the importance of the Senates and what you all do in the Senate?
There are two general areas in which faculty have reasons to pay attention. One of them has to do with wages and working conditions, that is to say, what is covered by the Peralta Federation of Teachers, the union, and the other has to do with anything relating to academic matters. The Senate is the primary body responsible for paying attention to all academic matters.
Okay.
So my role as the District Academic Senate President is to, I suppose one would say, coordinate and speak for all faculty with respect to anything that is covered in those areas that are considered academic, which are defined by law, and in Title V, the Education Code, defined by law as the 10+1. That's how we refer to it. Usually, I don't know that you want me to tell you in detail what each of those 10 things are, but I could do that if you'd like.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, the first one is curriculum, including establishing prerequisites and placing courses within disciplines. The second is degree and certificate requirements.
Okay.
The third is grading policies. The fourth is educational program development.
Okay.
Fifth is standards or policies regarding student preparation and success. Sixth is district and college governance structures as related to faculty roles. 7 is faculty roles and involvement in accreditation processes. 8 is policies for faculty professional development activities. 9 is processes for program review. And 10 is processes for institutional planning and budget development. You may have noticed that a lot of what I've described to you has to do with developing processes, developing and monitoring processes. That is primarily what the Senate does with respect to those 10 things. The 11th one is other academic and professional matters as mutually agreed upon between the governing board and the academic senate.
That's the +1.
Anything.
Gotcha, gotcha. Talk a little bit about the student learning outcome and assessment position that you hold and how that is dealt on a daily basis, so to speak.
Students take courses because they come to learn something. Teachers, in principle, are teaching what students need to learn in order to pass the course and to use that information at some future point in their lives. Learning outcomes are intended to specify what we think students should be learning and what they will be able to do with what they're learning when they finish a course.
Gotcha.
So once we've devised the outcomes for every course and program and certificate, then our task is to monitor to see whether or not those outcomes are being addressed, and that's the assessment component. How are they working?
How they're working. When you find issues with how they're working, how do you address them?
That doesn't happen at the level of the coordinator. That happens amongst the faculty who are teaching the course. The assessment process is driven by the faculty who are assigned to teach.
Okay.
So they, amongst themselves, discuss what has been working, what's not working, and determine how they can better change and improve those outcomes.
Excellent. It sounds in so many respects as with learning, as within life, there is always an ever-changing or a flow of getting better within the teachers' situations as well as providing their students a better platform to learn from. How do the student services or the academic student services or the academic services that we provide our students, how do they bolster or encourage or help any of the, or even if they do help the faculty senate or the academic senate in some respects, i.e. the PACE program, or how are they even affected or touched by your organizations within the situation for the students?
Well, anything that's an educational program is covered by the academic senate.
Gotcha.
But I'm not quite sure I understand
the actual
what you're
services
asking me.
that help our students that are outside of the classroom.
That's student services.
That's student services, I'm sorry. How do they help the academic side of your position? And in essence, I guess what I'm getting to is one of the things Debbie Budd talked about was the enormous amount of transfer activity. Well, that transfer activity, I'm sure, has to go a lot with the planning of their education, the ability to get their financial aid stuff together, ability to get their EOPS, to get their books, get all that. How does that synergy work with an academic senate, a faculty senate, a student learning access outcome coordinator? How do they even come in contact with each other, or do they?
Everything is connected.
And how do they help or work with?
Everything is focused on student learning. For example, one possible way of thinking about this might be, you mentioned textbooks. We don't mandate what textbook faculty members use to teach their courses.
Okay.
But we do work on developing policies that can support students in having access to textbooks. So one of the areas that the Senate would address would be, what are some alternative ways of providing students with the textbooks they need that might be other than having them go to the store and buy it? For example, developing a rental program or using open source textbooks, open education resources, or even developing ways of helping faculty learn how to use resources that are available on the web.
Is that, in this ever-changing information age, is that a bit of a struggle or a bit of a challenge to introduce or allow? I'm jumping around. I read an article the other day where a teacher referred to information technology as a deterrent to the educational process of a lot of students. Do you find it a double-edged sword where you want to use information technology to forward an educational process, but at the same token it can be a hindrance to a student's educational thing? Do you find that issue with your teachers or within your peers?
I'm not aware of any situation in which information technology is a hindrance. Access can be a problem.
Okay.
And having the equipment that a faculty person needs in the classroom to use what is available can be a problem. But information technology itself is only helpful when it works.
For a new student, how would you explain the Academic Senate?
Students take courses because they want to accomplish something. Those courses only have validity if the college that they're taking them from is accredited. The Academic Senate has as one of its primary roles making sure that all the requirements of accreditation are being satisfied so that that student's degree or certificate will be meaningful.
We've talked about your positions at Peralta. You talked about your positions within the district. Specifically talking about the district and the faculty senate, how has your experience been working with different faculty from different campuses?
My experience has been very positive. Faculty are very appreciative of the work that the Academic Senate does. They are extremely responsive for the most part, given the parameters of the primary focus of their attention, which is those courses that they're teaching. They're extremely responsive to requests for ideas and recommendations. The biggest area in which they are less responsive is when it requires more time from them, and that's understandable.
Right.
But for the most part, I find my colleagues to be extremely supportive.
Excellent. Well, again, you're watching Peralta Matters. We're talking about academic services. We just had a great conversation with Karolyn van Putten about academic services and the things she does at Laney in the district. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute.
I'm Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Join me in watching Peralta TV.
Welcome back to Peralta Matters. We are still discussing academics, and my next guest is Esteem Brumfield, who is student ambassador from Berkeley City College as well as student trustee. Welcome to the show, Esteem.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Right on, man. First of all, let's talk a little bit about your role as student ambassador. Give us what it means to be student ambassador and how you became an ambassador.
Okay, student ambassadors are the representative of the school in a sense. You're the student liaison between students, other students, faculty, students, departments. Student ambassadors are the first point of contact for new students who come in right through the door. It's like, if I come in through the door, what do I need to know to be a student? Right. So we assist students with enrollment, with financial aid, not so much the financial aid questions, but what type of financial aid is offered, counselors. We're like the student-to-student mentor. Yeah. I became a student ambassador in 2008.
Okay.
I volunteered for a semester. You do an internship for a semester.
Okay, outstanding.
And if the performance is right and the program is right for you, you become a student ambassador.
Gotcha. As an ambassador, what would you say, if any, are the differences from just being a regular student?
You have a sense of community. You have that connection and the ties to the school. So you have a lot of support around the faculty because you work a lot with the faculty in trying to disseminate information to students.
Okay.
So you have a strong base, and one of the benefits of being an ambassador is you have a consistent place to go. And I feel that's really important for youth, is that you do have that sense of community and that sense of family. Because the ambassadors definitely have evolved into a strong, tight-knit unit because they are like family.
Good.
So that's the ambassador program.
Outstanding. We talked a little bit off camera about your process to BCC and everything you went through that to get to that. Talk a little bit about the academic resources, persist, so to speak, or some of the other programs that you as a student have benefited from and see now as an ambassador your peers benefiting from.
Berkeley City College has many programs that really support students academically. Persist is one of them. It's the basic skills program that students, after orientation and assessment, they're placed into if it fits their curriculum.
Right.
For me personally, I benefit a lot from the PACE program because I needed to get a job in the day, and I needed to take classes either at night or online. Right. So that was the education component that really fit for me. The tutors were another one. The tutors were essential in getting the support that you need and helping you one-on-one. Right. Because if a professor has 50 students in their classroom and they're teaching 4 classes, they won't necessarily have the time to dedicate to you in the way that you may need it.
True.
Especially since I'd say every student learns in their own way. So to have a tutor there was essential. So that's one of the benefits of the tutoring program. Students also go to computer labs. Those are available. Students within PACE and EOPS, they also have their own counselors. The counselor was another academic component that was really vital because it gives you some direction of where you're going.
Right.
And that's whether you're youth or whether you're an older student, that's critical to know. What am I coming here for? What's available?
Right.
So those are some academic programs that are there to assist.
Excellent. Let's talk a little bit now about your, I wouldn't say transition because I don't think it is. It's more of an extension of your scholastic experience from student government, from student to ambassador. Now your role as student trustee, where you're actually sitting in on some decisions and hearing things that are above and beyond regular English class or math class or a foreign language. Talk a little bit about your experience in that and what it's been like.
I believe that the what they call extracurriculars, the student government, the student ambassadors, student trustee, those are elements that you want to incorporate with your academics because it gives you a broader sense of your environment, your community, the world that you're in. You built a lot of self-confidence, which you can take to your academics.
Okay.
It inspires you, which you may need some inspiration when you're going into your academics.
Right.
But really it gives you a sense of who you are. And with that you can push through your academics and start to mold what you want to do academically around who you are. And I've grown to learn that the best method is to not let your title define who you are. So I could be a student trustee or a student ambassador, but what's more important is that I let my role and what I do and what I'm passionate about define what I do. I like that. Not neglecting, obviously, the responsibilities that I have in that seat. Right. But really, with that understanding, I think I've learned a lot, and I've been able to be in a position where students can say I'm their representative. Right on.
You made a key point there in your explanation, inspiring. Tell me how being a trustee inspires you, not only in particular, but how it can inspire a student.
you have the opportunity to sit with the decision makers. And the fact that they would allow a student that opportunity is very rewarding. You feel like you have a responsibility. And at the same time, it's necessary because the board of directors are taking, you take your advice from the students that you govern. It is an inspiring opportunity to be there and to say, hey, this is what the students would like, this is their input, and then vice versa. This is what the trustees would like to see the students. This is what the student trustees expect from the students. So it's a great opportunity. That's
a great way to explain that. I like that answer. Talk about briefly, and we're going to try to be as positive as we can about this, the ways in which students can effectively or in some way approach the massive cuts that we're facing, the state-imposed budget crisis that we're going to look at in the next coming year, or year, so to speak. What is the quote-unquote feeling or the aura from a student perspective as to, I know these are the problems, I know these are the challenges, but I still have to get my degree, I still have to go to class, I still have to persevere? Where's that looking like?
That's a good question. I'd say that students are very dynamic. You can't really bunch them up. There are students that are extremely vocal about how the budget cuts are affecting them. there are some students who are not aware of the consequences. So I wouldn't put them all into one group. It's a broad, it's a broad spectrum of students. But I'd say the most important things is to, one, educate yourself on what's going on. And then the second thing is don't be complacent. I've heard from a lot of students, like last year we had the March in March. And we had buses lined up outside of all the campuses. And students were like, oh, well, I'm not going to get on the bus. Marching isn't going to make an impact. It's not making an impact because you're not on the bus. That's a good point. If you had more bodies out there, we'd have more voices, then it becomes a movement. And then it will evolve into something more than just a march once a month, or once a year, pardon me, once a year. That's the first thing. Educate yourself and don't be complacent. Not everyone is complacent, and not everyone is misinformed, but those are the two crucial things to do with the budget cuts, because they are decision makers out there who are your electeds, and you can't be a captain of a ship if you don't have anyone telling you where to go. You need someone to steer you in the direction. So you can't expect to hold them accountable if you don't have input.
Good point.
And that's how I see it.
Good point. Excellent. We are talking academics on Peralta Matters. I have just been joined by Esteem. We're talking great stuff here, man. I appreciate you for coming on the show. I appreciate all the guests for coming on. Again, thank you for watching Peralta Matters, and until next time, do something that matters.
Peralta TV, programs that matter. Peralta TV.